What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett from Rants. As always, guys, if y'all enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave that comment down below. We're on the road to 1,000, and we hope you guys can help us get there. Alright, so Season 3, Episode 9. I won't say that it disappointed me. I also won't say that it excited me either. To me, this was kind of a kind of episode for me. I'll just come out and say it. It was very predictable. That's something I don't say very often about American Gods. Usually American Gods is not one of those shows that we see things coming from a mile away. This episode, this whole episode from beginning to end with numerous characters, I could see it. I could see some things coming. I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I didn't enjoy that aspect of it. Sometimes with shows like, take Walker, for instance. We do episode reviews of that here on Rants. It's a show, love it or hate it. It's very predictable. They have a setup at the very beginning and a payoff at the very end that, you know exactly what's going to happen. You either accept that about that show and either enjoy it, or you just despise it because it's so predictable. Some shows I can stand that. Walker's one. But on American Gods, they maybe kind of spoiled me a little bit. I'm kind of used to them being unique and different from basically almost everything on television. It's actually one of the better shows on television, and usually I treat it as such. During these reviews, if I say something negative about it, it's only because I expect better from it. But I feel like it has proved true for three seasons that it's very capable of holding its own and of keeping us guessing. Whether you're a book reader of American Gods, or either you just watch the series, usually you're kind of in suspense about what's going to happen next. Sadly, I don't feel like this episode fulfilled that. And so, yes, I was a little bit disappointed in that. So I'll go ahead and I'll get started on the episode review. I did not enjoy Mr. Wednesday's character on this. A lot of people on this episode, will say, well, it's because he's so depressed because of the Shard project, and he feels like he's going, they've lost, and that's the reason why he was so depressed. But it just come off as odd to me that the last we saw of Wednesday, he had just killed Tyr. He was kind of joyous. He did say kind of his goodbye to Shadow Moon, but overall, he didn't seem like he was so down and out. And of course, we meet him from the very beginning. Cordelia trying to bring back the old Wednesday. She's very confused and very worried about him. I really, really love Cordelia's character on this show. I almost wish she was there from the very beginning, because she is just an amazing actress. And she just plays an amazing character on this show. She's one character, like I've said before, usually characters here on American Gods have to have another character that complements them for them truly to be at their best. Cordelia is one of the exceptions to that. I feel like Cordelia is just great on her own. Of course, we see her in the scene, just her driving along, and, it's kind of a funny scene. I enjoyed her in that. And then, of course, we see her with Shadow Moon. We see her with Mr. Wednesday, and, numerous other people during this season. And I feel like she's great with anybody, and she's great by herself. But even she cannot cheer Wednesday up. But I just don't understand what happened between last episode and this episode that caused Wednesday to just completely feel like everything was lost. I don't believe it was the Shard project. I still kind of believe that there's maybe something going on where that Wednesday is not revealing something or that maybe he has something planned. But it's just very odd that he gives Cordelia that I think it was a Mjolnir necklace at the end of kind of a way of saying goodbye to her, kind of in the same way that he said goodbye to Shadow Moon last episode. So I'm kind of like, maybe he has a plan, but why is he saying his goodbyes? It kind of makes me think that maybe he truly is in this depressed state, and maybe it's not because of the Shard Project, and maybe it's because he lost the meter. Maybe it is because he killed his friend Tyr. Maybe it's all of these things, and he kind of feels like, he's lost everything. If I had to guess, I would say probably that could be where they're going with it, simply because of the way his goodbyes feel very heartfelt. I also will say Liam the Leprechaun. He's been a really nice addition to the show. But let's not kid ourselves. He is a poor man's Sweeney. He tries to kind of fit that billing to a certain extent. He's a little bit more sincere than what Sweeney is. He's not as sarcastic. And I think, we see that sincereness with him when he's dealing with Laura. Of course, we all saw it coming. He stops at that old abandoned church with her, and he shows her how to throw the spear. And of course, like I said, we saw that coming. It was very easy to spot. He was going to give the coin back to Laura so that she could regain her strength and use the spear to kill Wednesday. I feel like Liam. I kind of feel like Mad Sweeney would have been so much better in that spot, because Liam is such a nice guy on this show, and it's so weird because every time I see him, I think Ramsay Bolton. Like, I think Game of Thrones immediately when I see him. But he's such a nice guy on this show that him giving that coin back to her, even as a loan, didn't feel deserved. Didn't feel like, I wasn't like, oh, that's a really good thing, or that's kind of amazing he did that. Kind of feel like that was Mad Sweeney giving that coin over to her. I kind of felt like that would be a more, I don't know, memorable moment. Of course, what was it, season 2 or season 1, when, she does die, in that car wreck, and, he could just Mad Sweeney could have gone and got the coin out of her and just taken off, and instead he chooses to put the coin back inside of her and, save her life. And, of course, there's that scene where he's, just screaming, I'm not evil, and all that other kind of stuff. And it was a really memorable scene. I kind of feel like Liam is incapable of that because he's such a nice guy. You kind of know he's just going to do the right thing in that way. Even giving the coin to Laura, even if it means having bad luck for the rest of his life, or for all eternity, I guess, for him. So I kind of didn't really enjoy that. I didn't feel like it really paid off too much. I don't really like him and Laura quite that much either as a team. They have their moments. I'm not going to say I absolutely hate it. They do have their moments, but I kind of feel like her trying to come on to him and have sex with him was kind of like, that's just the old Laura just coming out. And I kind of feel like I wish that they would show some growth in her character. And I feel like every time that it seems like, I thought that growth was going to happen after, she went to purgatory. But instead, she comes back. She goes through purgatory. She goes through losing Sweeney. She comes to accept that moment, and then she's still like, still obsessed with killing Wednesday. Not going to change on that one. Still going to have sex with strangers. Not going to change on that one. I'm not going to feel fulfilled. I'm not going to, work past my problems. I'm just going to stay the same old Laura, the same old cynical Laura that we're accustomed to. I don't like that aspect of her character at all. But I mean, that's something that I've had a problem with her most of season 3. Without Mad Sweeney, she went from being with Mad Sweeney one of my favorite characters on the show, but without Mad Sweeney, she's like one of my least favorite. I dread seeing her the parts that she's in this episode, or any episode for that matter. Now, as far as Lakeside is concerned, Lakeside is one of those parts that only makes sense in a show or a movie. The whole idea of these children going missing and no one reporting them, I thought was really ridiculous. That you're telling me that there's all these missing children and no one's reporting that. Even Marguerite, when Shadow comes back and he tells Marguerite her son never made it to Florida. Of course, we knew that she probably already knew that, but the idea that she wasn't trying to find her son or come to that realization that, hey, something was going on, struck me as odd. As a parent myself, I will say this: my son goes missing. I'm not just going to be like, well, maybe he's with his mom. I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to be like, I'm going to find out if he's with his mom, and if he's not, I'm going to find out where he is. That is, and getting police involved and all that other stuff. So I kind of felt, when the sheriff of Lakeside, or whatever he is, when he goes to Shadow Moon and he's talking to him and he's acting like, well, we've never had murders here in Lakeside. We don't have, bad things like that happen here. I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. You didn't notice all the missing children in your town? And you're telling me that one parent out of all those missing children all those years never really reported it? That they just accepted that their kid ran away? I mean, to me, that just is a little bit ridiculous. But it's something that this show kind of wants us to kind of come to terms with or kind of accept. And I don't really accept that too well. I mean, I think it's just utterly ridiculous. I'm not saying that I like the Lakeside. I mean, that I despise the Lakeside art. I don't. I think that it's really been kind of fun. I think Henselman has been one of my favorite characters of the season. And I enjoyed a lot of the townspeople in Lakeside. I enjoy Marguerite. I enjoy the sheriff. I enjoy a lot of the people that are there at Lakeside. But I just feel like the idea that everyone's just cool with all these missing children to be a little far-fetched. Now, there is an alternative. That Henselman has actually maybe cast a spell on them that made them this way. And that could very well be the case. I don't believe that people are willing to have their children go missing for economic prosperity. I don't believe that is a realistic possibility. So she could be casting a spell over them. I don't know. Could have very well been. But I'll tell you, Henselman in herself, she's supposed to be like some sort of at the end of the episode, we find out she's a kobold. And I'm like, she's like some sort of like German elf that is known for benevolent deeds and sometimes malevolent tricks and things like that. But to have her go and go to the extent of murdering children seems a little bit strange. It really seems strange that is somebody that that these German traitors that killed the Native American boy at the very beginning of, I think it was episode 2 or episode 3, was it Native American girl? I think it was a Native American girl. I think killed this girl and sacrificed her to this kobold. And I'm like, And they try to play it off, well, she was basically a god before she was known as that. And of course, she says, well, I have to continue doing these things because they were making sacrifices to me. And I'm like, Bilquist broke free. Like, what makes you any different? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Bilquist decided, you know what? Yeah, that's what they expected of me. But you know what? I'm breaking free of this. So I'm not going to say that it was a complete and total cop out. But I feel like Bilquist did it. These other gods can do it too. I kind of feel like most of the other old gods kind of do their own thing. Whether their worshippers go that route or not that route. Like, I don't feel like Wednesday's strings are pulled by his followers. I believe Wednesday pulls his followers' strings. And I kind of felt like that was kind of a cop out on Henselman, or Henselman, however you say her name. I felt like that was a little bit of a cop out on that. Another thing, and don't get me wrong, I don't know. I think it was a Hindu god, Ganesh, that was at that carnival. And I'm like, did anybody see that? I thought they were sacrificing. The whole thing of the economic prosperity was that you sacrifice gods, sacrifice these children to the Henselman, or whoever it else may be, Wednesday or whoever. I don't understand where that god come about in this, and how, if it's a part of this town, as in the ice sculpture and so forth. If it's a part of this town, why are the sacrifices not going to it instead of Henselman? So I didn't really understand that. I get it. It's gives him a lucky coin, and that's where he just decides, you know what? We searched everywhere else. Why don't we search the most obvious place to find these missing children, in the car? I mean, think about how dumb that actually is. If you have missing children or missing anybody, and you search the entire town, but you don't go, you know what? If I was a serial killer, that would be the part that the one place that I would hide the body is in the car that's fixing to drop through the ice. But for some reason, nobody, not even Shadow Moon, even contemplates that idea. So I'm glad he finally actually had some sense to it. But again, it was another one of those predictable moments where he, you're like, okay, he's going to get to the car and then he's going to fall through the ice. Sure enough, that's exactly what happens. And of course, he's saved by Henselman. I did not understand him seeing the Orishas when he was underneath the water. I don't understand that. In that one instance, I understand it overall for his story arc, but I didn't understand seeing them in that one moment. I also didn't really understand the moment where that he is in that dream state with Marguerite, and their baby is calling them, and they're in the jacuzzi. I didn't really understand that aspect to it. I did enjoy how the radio was kind of giving away exactly what was going on by basically telling all these terrible things, because I was like, starts in like, these this really old timey song, and then all of a sudden it talks about giving head and different things along those lines. I was like, okay, that's a little odd for an old song. And then I started catching on what was going on. And then of course, in the dream sequence, Marguerite tries to drown Shadow Moon, and it kind of looks like when he's looking up that it's Wednesday, but I couldn't really tell if it's Wednesday that is drowning him or if it's Marguerite that is drowning him. I didn't really understand that aspect of it. Another thing, you see the light of the souls of the children that were in the cars. Um, are those children trapped in that ice? Are they trapped in under it? Are they haunting that lake? Like, I don't really understand like why they showed all the different souls of the children that are there. Like, other than the point of showing that Marguerite's kid was one of them. I didn't really understand that aspect to it. They didn't really explain it. Of course, Shadow Moon wakes up and he finds himself in Henselman's bathtub, and finally she explains what's going on. The sheriff, he comes up there and tries. Chad Mulligan tries to stop her. Once she confesses to the murders, but it didn't explain exactly why he was there to begin with. What did he do? Just walk into Henselman's house? Like, I didn't really understand that aspect of it. They didn't really explain it either. So I thought that was a little bit weird. Overall, I mean, the idea that he now knows that there's something strange going on in Lakeside and that maybe it's finally stopped, and I guess the town is going to fall apart because they're in Wisconsin in the cold for some reason, and bad economic times are going to come upon the town because they're not sacrificing to a god, which makes no sense, and probably the town over isn't struggling and is in the cold climate and isn't sacrificing to a god. So I'm like, probably not going to miss that very much. Like, I would love to know in a future season if they would go back to Lakeside and see if it's just completely and totally fell apart, or if it's actually better off. If I had to guess, I'd probably say it's probably better off. But I enjoyed some parts of that. Like I said, I felt like it was predictable, and that kind of took away a little bit of my enjoyment with it. I was kind of always like, kind of get to the next scene because we already see what's going on. You knew Henselman was going to die, and you knew it was going to be Shadow Moon that did it. To me, it was just way too predictable. I just didn't like that aspect of it. Now, the one moment that I just literally could not stand this episode was the moments or the scenes with Crispin Glover. Crispin Glover is a great actor, and he has played a great Mr. World. But man, was he over the top on this one. He was the first scene that they show with him is where he's got his hat like that and he's giving that long grin, and it's just like he looked like the Cheshire Cat. Like, I mean, he was so it was such a long grin. It was so creepy and weird. I was thinking like it was gonna pop out. It was so bad when he's talking to Tech Boy. And of course, Tech Boy just didn't get enough scenes this episode either, but I'll get to him a little bit later. The next scene that they show with Crispin Glover was a scene where he is dictating his terms of surrender to Wednesday. And he's saying these things, and he's saying it in such a malevolent way that it doesn't seem like the normally laid back character of Crispin Glover as Mr. World. And then something just struck me as so odd about how he and all the other people just kept walking backwards. And I'm like, are they leaving? Like, they're just walking backwards. And they just kept walking and walking and walking and walking. I'm like, if you're going to do terms of surrender with people, you got to be close enough where they can hear you. And it just struck me as weird. I was like, why? It was just poor acting. It was just so unbelievable, so over the top. I just didn't. Again, maybe it's because I got used to Danny Trejo as Mr. Wednesday. Not gonna lie, I prefer Danny Trejo as Mr. Wednesday. I mean, not Mr. Wednesday, but Mr. World. But at the same time, Crispin Glover usually does not let us down, and I feel like Crispin Glover really, really let us down this episode. So yeah, that was kind of a problem. And the last but not least, I wish that they would have given Tech Boy just um, just one scene with Artifact One. That's all I was asking for that. To me, I mean, yeah, you had that moment where he's getting one of Mr. World's goons, and wanting him to reveal where Artifact One is. But at the same time, I'm just like, I would have liked to see maybe that scene where he comes across Artifact One and they reveal what it is, which I think we already kind of know what it is to begin with. But still, I would have enjoyed that scene. They could replace one of these other useless scenes that they had in there with that one thing, and I would have been much, much happier with it. Laura killing Wednesday, maybe kind of shocked me a little bit, even though it kind of didn't. I really thought Cordelia was going to jump in front of that. Chernobog, if he had all that time to be doing things, where was Cordelia? Like, she wasn't even anywhere around. Chernobog swinging his hammer at everybody, but trying to stop them. But even while the spear's going in the air, but Cordelia was nowhere around, and that just struck me as odd. I would have liked to maybe seen her at least try to attempt to have stopped it, because it seemed like that would be something that her character would actually do. She's that loyal to Wednesday. I would think that she would try to save his life at any cost. So I was a little bit disappointed by that aspect of it. But overall, I would give this episode maybe a 6 out of 10. I would say probably a good 6 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10. It has some interesting moments. It revealed a lot of information. And a lot of, the plot did move forward. But it was just too predictable. And I know I said it a million times this video. But, I mean, that's just my biggest problem with it. It was such a problem to me that I just couldn't really enjoy the episode as a whole, because I was too thinking about, well, I already know how it's going to end, and it kind of worked out kind of how I thought it would end. I mean, like I said, there was really no intent to hide anything from beginning to end this episode, and that just really threw me off, because it's not really in the nature of American Gods to do that. But overall, guys, let me know what y'all think. Let me know if y'all enjoyed this episode. If I'm completely wrong in my review of this, let me know what y'all thought of it. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. And y'all take